Learn this hack to add real interactions to your UI designs. No code needed. In this video, I'll walk you through how to take a static UI design and turn it into a fully interactive experience using Figma and Lottie Creator. I'm working on the UI design for a task automation web app, and this is the design we'll be using. Let's start by defining the interaction. Every time a user hovers over a button, the icon expands and reveals the button name. If we want the button to expand and move up slightly while showing the highlight below along with the button title, we need to make sure all these layers are present from the very first frame. This ensures the animation renders smoothly. In this frame, I will keep the highlight base the same color as the icon base, and keep it the same size as well. For the text, I will reduce the opacity to 0. For this icon base layer, let's rename it to Email Hitbox, so it's easier to find later when we make the animation interactive. This will be the layer the user interacts with. For the button's open state, duplicate this frame and expand both the email hitbox and the highlight base. Next, reduce the height of the base layer so the button highlight shows through. Change the color of the highlight base to match the icon color, which in this case is orange. Then make the base layer black to add some visual variation. Finally, increase the opacity of the email text to 100 so it becomes visible. For the next frame, duplicate the first frame again. This allows the button to collapse after it expands. Repeat the same process for all the other buttons. Now it's time to animate this and create a Lottie. To do that, switch to prototype mode and start connecting the frames. When linking frame 1 to frame 2, change the animation type from Instant to Smart Animate. And define the curve and duration settings as you prefer. I want this transition to be faster, so I'll reduce the duration from 300 milliseconds to 150 milliseconds. Apply the same settings to all the other frame transitions. For the animation to work smoothly, make sure the prototype has a defined starting point and that all the layers are present in every frame in the same order and with the same names. To preview the animation, open the LottieFiles for Figma app and select the prototype name. Perfect! This plays beautifully. Now it's time to take this animation further and make it interactive. Once you're happy with the animation you've created, you can open it in Lottie Creator by clicking the Open in Lottie Creator button. To make this animation interactive, the first step is to break it into segments. For this animation, I need an idle segment where nothing happens and the animation remains static. For this, we can just take the first frame. Next, to add the email open segment, identify the frames that play that part of the animation. You can either enter the frame values manually, or use the work area handles to mark the specific range and then click the Add Segment button. This will automatically fill in the segment numbers. All that's left to do now is to give the segment a name. Let's repeat the same process for the email close segment, and then for all the other buttons as well. Once all the segments are set up, click on the State Machine button. To create a fully functioning state machine, we need to define inputs, transitions, and interactions. Let's start by adding the global state. Simply click and drag the global state button from the bottom. The global state acts as a universal state that is always listening in the background. It helps keep the state machine clean without requiring too many connections. Next, drag in the idle, email open, and email close states. As soon as you drag these segments onto the state machine canvas, they become states. Now click on the plus icon in the input section to create a new input. Choose a string input and name it icon. Leave the default value blank and click Save. Next, create an event input and name it hover. There are multiple ways to set up a state machine, and the same result can be achieved using different types of inputs. In this case, I'm using a string input because it allows me to set up the state machine with fewer inputs and transitions. However, this could just as easily be achieved using Boolean or numeric inputs as well. Once the inputs are in place, it's time to set up the transitions. Transitions act like guards, allowing the state machine to flow from one state to another. First, connect the global state to the idle state. Click Add Condition, select the icon input, and leave its value blank. This will ensure that the idle state becomes the starting point of the state machine. Next, connect the global state to the email open state. For the conditions, select both the hover event input and the icon string input. For the icon input value, enter email open. This tells the state machine to move into the state only when the icon input value is email open and the hover event is fired. Now do the same while connecting the email close state. The setup is identical, except for the icon input value, which should be set to email close. Let's test this. Perfect! It works exactly as expected. Now let's set up the interactions so the buttons actually respond to user actions like hover. To do this, go to the Interactions tab and click the plus icon. Set the type to pointer enter, and select the layer that should trigger this action. In this case, it would be the email hitbox. In the Actions section, choose Set Input Value. Select the icon string input and enter email open. Then add another action, fire event, and set it to hover. Repeat the same steps for the hover out interaction. This time, choose pointer exit as the type, keep the same layer selected, and in the Actions section, set the icon input value to email close, followed by adding the hover event input. Let's test this one more time. Great! Now repeat this entire process for all the other buttons, changing the string input value each time. Once that's done, let's test the state machine again. And there we go! Everything works perfectly. When you're happy with the animation, click the Export button and save it to your LottieFiles workspace. To hand it off to your developer, click the handoff button and enable the CDN link. Select the version and the format. Make sure you choose .lottie or optimize .lottie format since .lottie supports interactivity. Finally, copy the asset link to share with your developer and you're all set. And that's it! With this approach, you can design, animate, and add interactivity to your UI components without writing a single line of code. If you'd like to dive deeper into state machines, be sure to check out our Creator State Machine series.